Oh, let's break it down!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to NGS Breakdown. And this week we're doing it live here for the weekly league update for NGS. And today we've got for you, we're going to start off with the Week 3 match results, some of the upsets and match results here from this previous week in NGS. We've got the power rankings reveal that we're going to be doing for you guys. And finally, we've got the Week 4 match previews. We're going to highlight some of the big matches coming up this week in NGS and point out some of their significance. We will be covering all the divisions here today. And if you're watching the YouTube VOD after the fact, we will have timestamps down below marking the beginning of each of the divisions. So let's start off strong here in the A division. Where else would we start, really? We're going to look at some of the upset matches this last week in Div A. First of all, number 14, Chromie's Cronies. Able to take a game off of number 6, Tater Esports. You definitely expect that to be a win for Tater Esports, but Chromie's Cronies able to grab the draw. Fratris able to get the domination over number 8, Moto, where, again, you'd expect that to be more of an even matchup this time around, and instead it's Fratris picking up a big win over Moto. But most of Div A as you would expect it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the shakeup here in the power rankings. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to Zedalv for providing us with these stats, and Quantaka, of course, for running the website and giving us all those cool pictures to use for for the standings as well as the schedules. But looking at what we're adding this week for the actual stats themselves, we've got last week's power rankings in there as well, so you guys can see the power ranking change, and also a projected finish, which is going to be pretty interesting. Takes the power rankings and the remainder of the schedule for each team and gives a projected finish. So without further ado, number 1 ranked this week, it is going to be Macaroni and Cheese for the Div A. No big shocker there. They had a big week this week. Team Caliber is going to come in at number 2. Do You Know at number 3. Reborn at number 4, Triton Heroes at number 5, and man, this is seeming kind of familiar, but wait, there's more. Fratris moving up to number 6 this week, Tater Esports moving down to number 7, number 8 Moto staying right where they belong. Our dearly departed Team GG, who announced they were disbanding this week, would have been in at number 9, but we'll have to figure out what we're doing with those guys here at NGS. Number 10 going to be American Specialists. Number 11, University of Houston. Number 13 is number 12 is going to be Coming in Hots, and number 13, Chromie's Cronies, and finally number 14, Comfort Picks. So let's take a look at some of the bigger movers this week. Best increased rank on the board here is going to be Fratris moving up to number 6 with their draw versus number 4 Reborn and a win versus number 8 Moto. Biggest loss in rank this week for Div A is going to be Coming in Hots, moving down to rank 12 with their loss against Macaroni and Cheese and a draw versus University of Houston. Let's take a look at the upcoming matches here for week number 4. A couple of these premier matches. We've got a really stacked Div A this week, guys. Definitely the week we're going to want to keep our eyes on Div A with number 4 Reborn going up against number 3 Do You Know. Number 1, Macaroni and Cheese going up against Triton Heroes at number 5. Also, we have the game to end all games. Number 2, Team Caliber. Number 1, Macaroni and Cheese. And if you can't get hyped for that matchup, you might want to check for a pulse. Number 6, Fratris, also going against number 7, Tater Esports, is going to be a pretty influential match. Couple of teams that are just inside that fringe point for the playoffs here as we head into the back half of the schedule. They'll be wanting to make a name for themselves and separate themselves from that line a little bit. But that is it for Div A. We're going to move on to Division B West here with our Week 3 matchup upsets. Take a look at some of these matchups. First of all, Roll 1 Esports at number 9 versus number 8, subject to change. A pretty even matchup in terms of the power rankings, but Roll 1 able to get themselves a domination in this matchup. Second matchup, probably the biggest upset of the week, Lurk Patrol, able to get a domination over Dank Team here. And number 7 taking down number 3. Also, another kind of surprising matchup where you'd expect it to be a little more even. Drop Dead Gorgeous at number 5 getting the victory over number 4 Game Freaks. So let's take a look at the power rankings shakeup here for Division B West. Number 1, it is going to be amazing. Number 2, Divine 9, no change there from last week. But Drop Dead Gorgeous able to bump themselves up to number 3 with a big win last night. Dank Team falling to number 4. Team Conflict actually rising their stock a little bit here to number 5. Lurk Patrol moving up to number 6. Game Freaks falling all the way to rank number 7 here in the B Division West. Roll One Esports up to 8. Subject to change down to 9. And Lit Unknown at number 10. Best rank increase this week. Drop Dead Gorgeous. They did lose to number 1 Amazing, but their win against Game Freaks is enough to pop them up a couple of spots and make them a force to be reckoned with here in Div B. Largest ranking drop, speaking of Game Freaks, it is going to be Game Freaks with only Drop Dead Gorgeous on the slate this week. They dropped that game and are going to fall to number 7. Let's look ahead to this week's premier matchups. Kind of a light week for the Division B West, but there are a couple of intriguing matchups. We got Divine 9 versus Dank Team. Number 2 versus number 4. Should have some pretty interesting playoff implications at the end of the season. Particularly, I won't go too much into it, but particularly with the possibility of a tie at the end of the season, and having the head-to-head win here could be a big deal for the tiebreaker. Lurk Patrol, number 6 versus number 3 Drop Dead Gorgeous. We got Lurk Patrol having a little bit of momentum coming off that big win and upset against Dank Team. We'll have to see if Lurk Patrol can come up with what they need to get an upset the second week in a row, I should say, and topple Drop Dead Gorgeous. Both teams have good momentum going into this week, so we'll see how that turns out. Moving on, B East Division, aka the Beast Division. For week number 3 matchups, let's take a look at the upsets. Jailbait dropping down and losing to Order of the Sleeping Dragon. Surprised not to see a draw there between 3 and 2, but Order of the Sleeping Dragon is kind of setting themselves apart this week. Number 11, Duratan's Couch, actually able to steal away a game from number 5, sponsored by Rory. Speaking of sponsored by Rory, kind of falling a little under expectations with that first match, maybe exceeding them a little bit in the second match this week, which was that win over Wasted Potential at number 6, where you might expect a draw there. So we're going to keep our eyes on sponsored by Rory throughout this week as well, as we'll see here soon. Take a look at the power rankings. Number 1, Order of the Sleeping Dragon. Falling to number 2 is going to be Game of Throws. Regen popping up to number 3, and Jailbait dropping to number 4. Sponsored by Rory, sticking right in there at number 5. Wasted Potential is going to be moving up to number 6. Or is going to be staying at number 6, I should say. Reborn Knights at 7. Throwing moving up to number 8. Illusion Esports falling to number 9. Duratan's Couch to number 10. And All for Waifu down to number 11. Best rank increase, basically everybody just moving 1 or staying the same, but we'll highlight the one at the top with Order of the Sleeping Dragon, with 2 wins this week against number 4 Jailbait and number 8 Throwing. So very solid week for Order of the Sleeping Dragon. Biggest loss rank, we'll highlight the Game of Throws. They did get the win against Illusion Esports, but their draw against number 3 Regen is just enough to allow Order of the Sleeping Dragon to slide up into that top power rankings spot. So for the B East Division coming up this week, sponsored by Rory, going to be featured against Reborn Knights. Again, a couple of these teams that are just on the outside looking in to the playoff picture. A win this week for either of these teams could be a huge boost to trying to get to the playoffs. Wasted Potential at number 6 and Jailbait number 4. Again, Wasted Potential looking to maybe pull back Jailbait a little bit to be able to get to that number 4 spot. A win over Jailbait could be a really big deal. Number 2, Game of Throws, and number 5, sponsored by Rory. And a couple other good matches that are definitely worth honorable mention this week. Number 8, Throwing. Number 6, Wasted Potential. Number 7, Reborn Knights versus number 4, Jailbait. So we're going to start to see a lot of the playoff picture forming here this week in the B Division East. A lot of matches that are going to really determine those 3 and 4 teams, particularly that 4th spot. Moving on, Div C West. We'll take a look at Disbanded getting a big win over number 2 Guys Gems. But wait, there's more. They also get a big win against number 1 Moto Miracle. We had highlighted it last week. Disbanded had maybe one of the toughest slates I've ever seen this week, facing number 2 and number 1. I don't know how it gets any harder than that, ladies and gentlemen. They are able to pick up a couple of wins, and that's really the big story this week in Div C. Number 1 power ranking, you may not be shocked to learn. Number 1 Disbanded, they're going to move up to that 1 slot. Ghost Clones moving up to number 2. Guys Gems are going to fall down to number 3. Clouded Minds actually moving up to number 4. But wait, where's last week's previous number 1 team? Moto Miracle actually falling all the way to number 5 this week from that previous number 1 spot. They are still atop the division standings, but the power rankings have not been kind to them this week. Do It Right moving up to number 6. Elite Murloc Chieftains moving to number 7. We Like Turtles staying their course here at number 8. FML Esports up to 9. Can't Stop Won't Stop up to 10. Late Game, though, falling to number 11. Best increase this week, of course, we already talked about it. It's Disbanded with their 2 big wins this week, and Moto Miracle dropping with that loss against Disbanded. They did win against number 10, Can't Stop Won't Stop, but again, the power rankings looking at them with not a lot of favor this week. We are going to see premier matches here for Div C West. Number 6, Do It Right versus number 7, Elite Murloc Chieftains. At this stage in the schedule, a loss for either of these teams could be detrimental to trying to get back up into those playoffs and getting into that top 4. So big matchup, important matchup for these 2 teams. Number 3, Guys Gems versus number 2, Ghost Clones. Should be a thriller. And once again, we're going to see Disbanded with a tough matchup this week. Number 4, Clouded Minds. We'll have to see if they can step up for a 3rd time in a row. Div C East. We have made it to the final division. Let's take a look at the upset matches here for C East. Pan Dulce dropping the game to Something Heroic. Number 3 losing against number 7. And again, featuring Pan Dulce with a tie against Average Joe's, where you would expect them to be able to probably get a domination over Average Joe's. Instead, they drop a game to them. Kind of a tough week for Pan Dulce. Also, Frank's Furter is able to nab a game off of number 4, Uncomfortably Numb, and force that draw as well. We'll take a look at the shake up in the power rankings. The Rippin' and the Terran. Sorry, guys, your name is too long to fit on the screen, but I'll say it out for you anyway. They're going to move up to number 1. Onslaught moving down to number 2. Winston Churchill Manatees also moving up to number 3 this week. Something Heroic moving up to number 4. Uncomfortably Numb falling to number 5. Mortis and Vincita, the first team that's actually staying their course at 6. Pan Dulce falling from 3rd ranked last week all the way to number 7. Average Joe's are going to come out at number 8. Zul'jin Distillery at number 9. Frank's Furter is moving up to number 10. And Squad 9 Alpha going to be rounding out Div East at 11. Best increase ranked this week, Something Heroic with that win over Pan Dulce and a win over Zul'jin Distillery. So a couple of good wins for them. They're going to move their way up in not only the power rankings, but also the standings, and really putting themselves in a position to be able to look for that late game drive to be able to get into the playoffs here. Biggest loss rank this week is indeed Pan Dulce with the loss over against Something Heroic and the draw versus Average Joe's. So going to be kind of a rough week for them. But that is going to be it, guys. That is, well, actually, that's not it. Let's look at the week C East matchups. I almost forgot. They've got matches this week too. Pretty decent slated match there. Number 4 versus number 3. Something Heroic versus Winston Churchill Manatees. Pan Dulce looking to bounce back against number 6 Mortis and Vincita this week. Number 1, the Rippin' and the Terran against number 5, Uncomfortably Numb. Big game for Uncomfortably Numb if they can even just get a draw here off of the number 1 team in the division. could be huge for them trying to stick in that top 4 to get to the playoffs. And that is going to be it for us this week, guys. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode of the NGS Breakdown. And I will see you guys next time. Have a good week, guys.